welcome to another car talk with your host Herbie today. Now, I just had it on my mind about, for some reason, I wanted to discuss about hybrid turbos, twin scroll turbos, and how people get it wrong when it comes to twin scroll. Because they believe there's two compressor wheels. They believe there's two wheels in one turbocharger. Okay, it kind of sounds like that, doesn't it? Especially with BMW, they're infamous for naming them twin scroll power. But really, what it is a form of hybridizing a turbo, making it more efficient and reducing turbo lag by different vortices and air turbulence within the turbocharger, so you have better drivability and potential for more power throughout different parts of the rev range. How it works: alright, you've got your compressor wheel on either side. Normally the turbocharger, the compressor wheel, will have, it's called a deck, or the port where the gases come in, the exhaust gas and the intake gases. That will cover one side of the turbocharger, usually the thicker portion, which the air turbulence is, it comes in and it spins that portion where the compressor blade is. Now, in just a red light here, in a twin scroll turbocharger, there's a second port, usually facing the furthest edge of the compressor wheel. Now, that is better for lower RPM response, as it's like, let's say, you spinning a coin right at the corner. It will do it faster because laws of like leverages and things, and the air turbulence is changed and different, so it's usually a narrower duct, like a narrower vacuum cleaner pipe, and it's usually angled, so it makes increased pressure, increased airflow at a higher pressure on the front part of the turbocharger, and this spools the turbo faster from lower RPM with less load. From if the driver needs less load, then better response from a lower RPM. And then the air turbulence, because the second port next to it, once there's enough air pressure, that will spin the turbo from the higher side of the compressor wheel, and that will spin it to its maximal RPM potential. Now, other methods are used as well in twin scroll turbocharging and hybridizing turbochargers. Now, another method is using lighter, lower inertia materials, such as ceramics and billet compressor wheels are also used in turbocharged applications for performance, efficiency, and improved engine response, especially in performance applications. Now, the advantage of that, it's quite obvious really. It's lower inertia, meaning there's less force required to get it started and moving and spinning up to speed and up to pressure to create that boost when you put your foot down. Let's say I've got the turbocharger now on this car up to speed now. There's enough air pressure and turbulence and vortices in the compressor housing, spinning it at a high RPM, and there's enough air pressure for when I put my foot down. There we go, we're off. So the lower inertia is through the lighter weight, so there's less force required to spin that turbine compressor wheel up to speed, up to enough RPM, which can be up to in applications 300,000 RPM. Some compressor blades can spin up to. There's also another one. Porsche were very early adopters for this, is for hybrid turbochargers. Porsche were very early adopters in having vanes, so this would affect air turbulence. So this air turbulence is basically the way air spins and swirls, and this can change the pressure and force applied to a moving component, and especially with turbochargers, it's to increase that speed and for that response and that performance that the driver wants, and for all these improvements in technologies. And Porsche were early adopters of having little vanes which in the compressor fascia and housing and diffuser, there can be little, they look like razor blades, and they can switch oh, there's a grit here, it's going to be nasty. No, not as bad as I thought. Didn't want to chip windscreen. Don't like those things at all when they do that. Piss me off. Excuse me for my language. And yeah, they switch between different angles, and this goes against or with the air, affecting the aggressiveness of the turbulence of air, leading to that wheel being spun faster and for better response. This dates back to the late 70s and early 80s, and even now we have electronic control on turbo charger vanes and things to affect the geometry and position of these components. And there's also there's also other methods used as well. You can have different sized wheels, compressor wheels, either on the intake side or the exhaust side of the turbocharger, and this again can be to affect the aggressiveness of the power delivery and the for the required application and the response. So you could have a smaller exhaust wheel, let's say, so there's less inertia and there's less inertia needed to keep it spinning at an optimal RPM to create the necessary power and pressure. So let's say you're exiting a corner and you need that boost pressure, and if the wheel was too big and the turbo wasn't spinning up to its adequate speed to create that boost pressure, it would lead to a delay, and you may get overtaken in a race or something. You'd be peed off, because you may have maybe the difference between winning and losing, let's say, in very, very fine line racing like that, like Formula 1 and things like that. And yeah, so you have a compressor wheel on the exhaust side, which requires less inertia, and a bigger wheel on the intake side, so that spins, that has the potential for more volume or volumetric efficiency, high amount of air volume, which again increases the pressure charge pressure going into the engine, more air volume, more air down facing, the piston, increased compression ratio. But we can go into, in another car talk with Herbie, we can go into more depth with turbocharging and fuels and different things like that, and performance applications and so on. There's other methods, like you may wonder what anti-lag is. You hear a rally stage, you hear the driver put his foot on the throttle and bang, 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 explosion, then it goes rocketing off. What this is sometimes it's to do with the ignition timing or exhaust valve timing and the fuel mixture as well. In the computer, they can alter that, so it on purposely dumps too much fuel, and the heat of the turbocharger, and because the turbocharger is positioned on top of the exhaust manifold on a flange, it creates explosions, pop, pop, pop on the wheel, and it's like having an explosion next to a fan. It will just spin it faster and faster. It's like someone shooting it with a gun. It'll spin fast, 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 and then it will lead that large turbo to gain its speed and up to boost pressure very fast. So it's usually used in larger turbo applications, and the reason it's used in rally as well, and not you shouldn't particularly use it on road use, is because they're rebuilding engines after mostly every stage of a rally And but if you have it on the road, it may sound cool and exciting, especially if you're a young lad like myself, let's say, and it sounds cool to your mates and things, but it will wear the turbo compressor out. This is because it's not designed to have someone letting off fireworks and explosions, combustions on a pretty thin turbo compressor vane, a little impeller. It's like they're very thin usually. Less risk if it was billeted, which is basically a solid block of metal, billeted, machined from one piece. But that's expensive and costly, and there's a lot of waste material as well with that. And yeah, let's see it. Yep, still working today. And yeah, so these are all different methods in performance applications to improve performance, efficiency, power, drivability, and very, very successfully, except for anti-lag, which is really for rally and race applications. Because let's be honest, we're not rebuilding. We're not coming home and, let's say, come to our wives or people and say, what's wrong with the car, oh, I just turned anti-lag on and I've blown a turbo, it's going to cost me £2,000 again, because I saw a 911 at the traffic lights and thought I'll throw some sick there, and thought I'll try it on. Yeah, so that's we can go on to, I'll tell you another episode, peoples, we could go on to next time, superchargers, because that's another fascinating story and history. And another one is how to time an engine and the reason for timing, differences diesels and petrols. And we can also do a fun fact, quick fire, maybe a 10-minute video on each individual car models or multiple different makes, manufacturers. You can eat aircraft as well, how the relevance of aircraft in technology of aircraft have to the motor vehicles of today. Now I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, which is very boring. Go to Morrison's and get some shopping. So hope you're all having a more exciting evening than I am, and thank you once again for tuning in to another Car Chats with Herbie, and we'll see you again soon, hopefully. Good night.